Hi all and welcome back to the final day of the group stage here in North American Challengers Split 3. 10 Rec and Mark's here to take you through the first two of three best of threes we'll get to cover here on the main broadcast to see which of the final four teams will get those final two spots for the 8-team playoff bracket that starts off next week. Mark, how are you feeling, man? Get to watch some really great teams battle it out today and under some pressure for some big prize pool bucks.
I mean, it's so interesting because I feel like Split 3 specifically for Challengers this time in North America, all the teams that you would expect to win are not winning. And then all of these new teams that kind of entered in through the Premier qualifiers or the closed qualifiers, etc., all of those teams are doing extremely well. And so in Group D, we do have Trust and Plug, which was formerly known as Blinn Esports. And then on top of that, too, we still have Sad Esports, which was another Challengers team, which, you know, they're going up against the Blue Otters as well as Rose, two new teams that kind of went through this whole thing. And so while I would say, yeah, we can, you know, the Challengers teams, they're Challengers teams, they should be able to win it. At this point, take your expectations and toss them out the window, because who knows?
Yeah, throw out the entire book. It's an off-season tournament. It's there's a lot of ranked being played right now on stream, which is fun. That's not a bad thing. It's just teams aren't opening their playbook all the way so far. Of course, saving some of that for playoffs. But you raise a good point. It's two well-tested Challengers teams taking on two teams who fit the hot streak narrative that a lot of other playoff contenders have already kind of completed upon. So this will be a great test, starting out with Trust and Plug, who we'll get to watch take on a very well-tested Blue Otter squad who qualified a month ago today by beating Funhavers in the Premier qualification match. So they've already beaten one of the teams that are already in the top 8 here. They've got to be feeling good coming up against this playoff favorite squad.
Yeah, I mean, once again, the Funhavers eliminated Moist X Shopify Rebellion in order to secure their spot. And so, you know, all things considered, if you go by relative, then Blue Otters should be looking pretty good, all things considered. And on top of that, too, previously, about a month ago, they also faced up against Rose and won that series as well. Rose, another team that's in this qualifying spot. So the Blue Otters are looking pretty good. And on top of that, too, they've got Bob in their squad, taken from Sad Esports. So there still is a little bit of this talent that we're kind of used to. Honestly, like, I'm just genuinely curious to see how this team is going to stack up, especially in this specific group. We're going to be starting things out onto Ascent for our start, and this is the Blue Otters' map choice. So they're the ones who want to come to Ascent, you know, hide and true Ascent, cardboard walls, all that type of stuff. And take a look at this composition. This is pretty similar to what we've been seeing a lot of these teams running thus far.
It's true. Bringing in that Yoru and Deadlock core to assist has been quite the popular option for a lot of teams lately. Like you said, a lot of unanswered questions surrounding both of these squads. Same could be said for our mirror match happening on Knights Arena's broadcast. That'll be Rose versus Sad Esports. And then, of course, we'll switch competitors depending on who wins and who loses. So if you have the extra space, we implore you to check out that match as well. Blue Otter, like you said, attack not their elected side, but they'll make it work anyway, starting out with this A attention and slow mid push to gain a whole lot of market space.
Yeah, and on top of that, too, they put a lot of information onto that A site. So you saw that the Plugs had to pull their rotations over to heavily reinforce A. There is no Yoru teleport either, so this is going to be a pretty easy B side hit. They just have to watch out for some of that Deadlock utility, but this market push should make it easy. Monty going with the Recon Dart, immediately getting it shot out. Yeah, that's going to tell you that maybe this is a B side hit.
Should be enough of a signal here for TIP. Recon bolt to confirm nobody's on the site itself, but with a quick grab net, Shondex, or excuse me, not Shondex. Easy exit from Jorwin to find an opener. And they will crunch this attack as it's happening. The perfect moment to do it here for Trust and Plug. But the remaining 3 kind of walled out by this smoke. They'll be forced to entry into 2 of them as Zostal will get the plant down. Now Bob's time to shine. Like you said, the new 5th for this squad coming over from Sad Esports. She had a relatively long tenure playing from competitive on a team, but she's feeling locked in. She's feeling capable now. Able to grab one before Trust and Plug start to bulldoze their way through the competition here, which includes Zostal at the very end of it. 30 collective health between 2 players to give this defensive squad their first victory.
Yeah, the Plugs will be able to grab that one. I like the idea coming in from the Blue Waters on there. You know, you sense the deadlock, the barrier mesh comes up. Oh, okay, I guess we can't just run down B. But instead, they take a lot of market presence, and that really is the key to success to make sure that they can get onto that B site pretty quick. I do like the response coming in from the plugs. They were very quick to move in there. And on top of that, too, the grav nets. Always watch the grav nets. These grav nets have been so deadly in so many of these matchups lately, where as soon as they get a couple of people, it's easy spray downs for the rest of the squad to at least secure a couple of kills, and that was really what made it so much more difficult for the Otters to penetrate into that B site. Already a little bit of crossfire going, but the Otters look like they want to go on to A.
They do still have Shondex posted up on B main so that they can facilitate the rotation a little easier here.
Whew. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just keep browsing for now. He's opening 20 seconds. Nice and calm. Blue Water actually patrolling mid. I didn't expect them to do this till like round 4, but this is good. Teague is set up with this Gravnet and a friend though, so they should be able to make pretty quick work of this. Teague will actually just take all of that fire himself, and Jerwin just gonna back out while Trust and Plug play to stall thanks to this deadlock wall, so Blue Water will be forced to change course with such little time left, and so much time for Trust and Plug to make the right rotations. Deadlock wall up CT, though, will force Jerwin to watch mid instead. And with the only player left, one that can smoke himself out, looks like both players from that push will get on just fine. Of course, that
30 seconds
will make
left.
Trust and Plug commit to this B hold, knowing that's where we are all headed at the end of the day. And Mikey's still got the better gun and no doubt the better aim. You haven't seen him yet. You sure will. This whole team is dangerous. Blue Water, though, they've been playing for quite some time now, and they've been making waves in the tournaments even before they picked up Bob, and now that she's a part of things, I'm terrified for what this attacking squad's going to do once they have guns.
That's the question, though. We have to see this next round to whether or not they're going to be able to continue to contest the plugs. I think that it's really interesting. We're seeing right now just how annoying the deadlock can be on that defensive side. I love the way we're seeing Teague play this deadlock. Specifically, not using the barrier mesh too early, not using it just kind of willy-nilly. You see a lot of teams just kind of toss it out to deny that space, but it's so much more annoying once you got a read on where the other team is going. Throw down that barrier mesh, it makes it so much more difficult to go anywhere, and it really forces the other team to play into more of a trap where you've got more members and are expecting that. Dimensional drift from Bob. This time it's going to be a fast hit onto the speed.
Definitely worth the ultimate just to open up that space, force Trust and Plug to only take one fight on this, especially if you can get rid of the boathouse presence, but you can't before the rest of Trust and Plug makes their way back. And Spike is yet again stranded. Zostal, with the help of this barrier mesh, will be able to open things up, but Von Bao is on site and has guns and has space and has not 3 on the kill feed. Welly can wrap it up on site and keep 2 standing for Blue Water.
Also, take in the fact that Willie had an Odin on that round. It was a lot closer than that should have been. It felt like the execute was very good from the Blue Waters, but Trust and Plug, once again, just kind of holding their ground, making it a lot more scrappier than they were really anticipating there. And once again, the deadlock still seems like it's getting so much value for both of these teams, especially in those chaotic situations, you know, just tossing out the grav net, trapping some of these players down. It's all very well rehearsed, but let's see how this goes. We're going to be evened out this time gun-wise. Trusted Plug will have all the weapons necessary. And instead of just going for a rush, we're seeing the Otters take a little bit more of a patient pace, something that we have witnessed those past couple of rounds. Bob, unfortunately, gets taken out by the other Yoru from Trust and Plug. And now the Blue Waters, it's very slow, but they are slowly taking space up onto B. The Spike's still leaning A. They have to be careful about Bao playing in wide.
Jerwin and Bao, the 2 latest additions to this team. Their own duo, to an extent, coming from Sad Purple, did monstrous things for that team, and Blinn having 2 open spots for that controller and duelist. These guys fit in perfectly. We've seen them cook up some heinous stuff for the past year plus, especially in Tier 2.
Oh, yeah. And now, too, this A site, it's going to be so much easier to go into. They just have to deal with the Yoru lurking out in hell, and that information is going to be known here as the execute is underway.
Everyone's going to blind his way out to try and at least take a fair fight, but can't lock down a headshot in time, so unfortunately can't even trade. Expect to see that mid-fight taken by Jerwin and Bob a lot. Just an early duel to make it a 5v4. The lurk is worth it to both of them more often than not. In the meantime, rest of the team is going to play pretty default. In fact, Trust and Plug might be too scared to even want to fully approach this. They might just try and poke and then dip. I think that's what they'll do. Ooh, good kill by Mikey. Okay, all of a sudden the floor's open, and all of a sudden TIP have one hell of a chance to make this round work. Well, he's still stuck in main, and Monsi can only do so much spraying through hell, so Mikey's just gonna make the drop work. Shondex can clean that up. And now it looks pretty much undoable for Monsi, but you're too committed to back out now, and so Shondex will end up grabbing 3 for the round.
And this is an excellent start. I mean, we're seeing once again Welly able to carry over the Odin into this next one. The economy for the Otters isn't looking fantastic, but given the fact that they win that gun round yet again, yeah, exactly. Bob's bringing out the Outlaw. It's going to be a nice one-shot body kill. Meanwhile, Trust and Plug, they got to start figuring things out a little bit more. That was a little bit too easy for the Blue Waters to go in there. Sure, they had a good pick onto Bob just as the round started, but as soon as we saw the Blue Waters move in, you know, the barrier mesh guarantees 1 kill spraying through the smoke. That's all the utility that you really need. It's very frag forwards to open up these sites. And the Blue Waters, once again, are just kind of taking a breather, taking it nice and slow, while Trust and Plug stand their ground. Mikey trying to get a little bit of space, a little bit more information. But the shock bolts should more or less deter anybody from moving too far up mid.
At this point, Blue Water only relying on that one sight line, so far too much uncertainty to push anything on mid. Solely watching it so that Zeke, or Welly, excuse me, Welly and Zostal can creep up A just a little bit farther and sell this pressure. Or perhaps give enough so that the rotation is on the other side, and you can just pile drive this with Bob now on your squad. Either way, Trust and Plug, they've already used quite a bit to try to play keep away here.
Spike drop.
I like that smoke that they just dropped down there.
Yes.
It's a little bit more far forwards, but then it just makes it a little bit more difficult for the Otters to really understand what's going on. A couple more questions going to be asked here as Welly goes out for the side, aware of what's going on in line.
Wow, yeah, just fully reading that hold. Well done. Bonbow is still not cleared, though. In fact, Welly had too much confidence that Zeke would be doing that. And we still have one more on site. Or no, excuse me, we don't. Monsi, step back, reset. Finds a Guardian to attempt to space out. You can get at least one here pretty easily here if you're Monsi, I think. You're not going to be watching main off rip, are you, Bob? Oh, no. He's just sitting in front of it. Never mind. Easy lineup, easy round for Blue Water. They have the lead.
I'm sorry, Bao should not have been able to get those kills. I even saw, too, when the Otters were walking in. That corner was checked, but it was one of those classic fake checks where you look at it, but you don't think about it. And as a result, Bao just finding 2 kills makes it potentially a winnable round when it really shouldn't have been. But the Blue Waters still come out on top, and thus far, it feels like they're pretty good on their attacking strategy. They're kind of forcing the Plugs to move out a little bit, and then they're able to capitalize on that short advancement to secure 1 or 2 kills. They're not really yielding one site or the other and keeping the Plugs in check that way. The only avenue right now that the Plugs can go exploring is on mid, but they're not even aware that that is an option just because of the smokes that get dropped down. And so as a result, the Plugs, they feel nice and trapped in, allowing the Otters to really take their time, make their decisions, and drain out the utility of their opponents.
Portal closed.
Here.
Very slow this time, too. I mean, we expected this, but especially, too, with zoning things out, I wonder if the Otters just kind of know that the barrier mesh gets tossed out. So, you know what? We'll make sure that it doesn't get that much value.
Yeah.
Recon start will scout out, though.
And you're going to try and get on top of it with the Hunter's Fury. Welly will end up finding Jerwin. Just takes a moment. And for that matter, a trade. Zeke, I also think, tried to ult his way onto site. Early stopper for Trust and Plug, and now with only 30 seconds left, Blue Water have reduced themselves to one option, one that Trust and Plug is entirely ready for, and T can just take the same corner Bao did and grab 2 more again. 3v2 on retake, and Spike is not committed to. 18 seconds on the clock, and Trust and Plug will mow down the remainder of this site. Well, he's got to get an ace, and it's simply too much. Trust and Plug, ultimately, with the time wasted that Blue Water just decided to let go, they slowed down a little too much and could only rely on one site that Trust and Plug were totally ready for.
Okay, Otters. If you're attacking that A site, you gotta check tree. You gotta check tree.
We gotta check tree corner.
Like, you gotta do that. That, once again, just watching Teague walk out this time and get a couple of kills there in all of those smokes and stuff like that. None of the Otters looking that right way. Should not be happening. It's these little simple mistakes that are making these rounds a lot closer than they should be. Bob now with this operator, waiting for Teague to overextend. And with that first shot going off, I imagine the barrier mesh will get saved. But Trust and Plug, they're reinforcing their defenses on that B site. A little bit of a rotation going around just in case, but the Blue Water's taking more mid space this time. As once again, Tenrek, we're back in our standstill.
Yeah. Jerwin opening shot fielded out, and Bob believes he will go for it again. She's right. And Blue Water have the opening frag, possibly an opener to the lane. But that's why Monty's been so actively floating so far this game, so that he's able to just hop into this fight without having to think too much of it. Can sacrifice himself almost to an extent, but really it's the Odin that's going to do all the work. And as soon as they're keen, oh, the Paranoia will field him out though, and now they only have to worry about Mikey Welly. Good shot early on. Bon Bao once again has to play the waiting game, and it seems like everyone on Blue Water is lining up their shots. Can Bao save the day and the site? That's Welly gone, and Bob swung upon. And we're re-cleared with 25 to go, and Spike's still in hand. Mesh will fade away, so you can still re-up both sites, but everyone's in the back, and it's wide open! 2 more gone for Blue Water, and Zeke chooses to fight first, ask questions later. Sound sensor to wall away the remaining defender in Monsey so that he can't get there too fast, but it's already up to heaven. And the Hunter's Fury on default.
Cancel?
Has to reconsider, here's it again! Monsey cancels it, and walks right up to Zeke. Beautifully played timing here by Trust and Plug to get themselves the lead again.
You know, we could talk about Valorant in the sense of like, what are the strategies we're cooking up here? How do we want to do our executes? But at the end of the day, adaptability is a huge factor, and Trust and Plug showed us that they are very adaptable as to what was going on. I like the Otter strategy. They're spreading themselves out, making Trust and Plug really double guess whether or not they're going one side or the other, or where they're exploring. You saw as soon as like one kill happened on one site, another kill happened on the other, and the floating agent on Trust and Plug didn't know which way to go. So there was a little bit of confusion going on. But as soon as things start to get a little bit more chaotic, Trust and Plug, it felt like just those fundamentals were a little bit stronger and they could collapse upon Blue Otter. Excellent work coming in from that squad, and now we're seeing that timeout come in from Blue Otter. They're going to take this time to really think about what happened on that last one, and yeah, honestly, this is a good time to talk about it because Trust and Plug are starting to get quite a few rounds, and also to have quite a few ultimates coming into this next one, Tenrek.
Yeah. For my money, it just doesn't feel committal enough to a site. Specifically, Blue Water are way too concerned about all of the extraneous territory that they need to, like, outfight on first. And I really, unfortunately, it feels like you kind of have to save a lot of that for just the post plant. And just compress yourselves a little more on these tiny sites before you try and go for that off angle on Heaven, before you try and hop into Hell. It's just got to be a little more thought out here, and a little more together. I'll start browsing mid again. Smoke out to deter, which means we'll have somebody wander. This time it'll be Jerwin taking the fall with this outlaw in hand. Trying to find an easy outlier on light armor here. Another pretty proactive mesh as well from Teague, but with 75 on the clock, that'll actually waste a good deal of time if Blue opt not to play that down. But they might, considering they're checking out this A push as well.
And honestly, I think that this is kind of an interesting strategy from Blue Waters, and I wonder whether or not this is just specific to trying to play counter deadlock, where you get the mesh out of the way, you don't have to deal with that, arguably one of the most annoying things to work with, and then by the time that it ends up going down, you still got enough map control to make a decision which site you want to go on. I wonder if that is the play right now, but Jerwin starting it out with a pick there should more or less guarantee that we do get to see the Blue Waters start to make their advancement onto the B site.
Finally, options not searched for and instead hunted. But Shondex caught out, and it'll force him to retreat early on into the B crunch that Trust and Plug should already be quite privy to, but Mikey cannot hold down the fight. Shondex locks down the shots on the Sheriff and has a free swing onto Monsi now. But Jerwin is also joined in, and TIP yet again, they're here, but Blue Water, they've already gotten on site, gotten Bob on Spike, and now it's all about reopening, but Jerwin and Teague are doing that just fine from the back line. Welly on the logs can get absolutely swarmed, and it's a 4K for this Yoru to get TIP to 5.
And once again, we're seeing what the Outlaw did to the game. You add it in, especially too on some of these more eco buys, that thing is extremely deadly. Jerwin able to find so much value with it and still able to recover a rifle off of some of the people's bodies, some of the teammates' bodies. I do think that there was a real chance with Shondex just kind of popping off with the Sheriff, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to bring the Blue Otters across the finish line, especially on that eco round. So Trust and Plug, now they're up 5-3, still pocketed all of those ultimates. We're watching the Blue Waters get set up here. I'm expecting a little bit more of a faster rush. 2 ultimates online for them, specifically the dimensional drift from Bob could be what they need to open up that B site and completely storm it. I hope that lineup was intentional here as we see Bob going.
Jerwin is going to just take this pressure, TP out quite early actually, and that'll be more of a go signal for Blue Water to aggro this B site. Really no excuse to default. This is another dimensional drift from Jerwin. That will catch out Zeke, Slurk, and Pizza as well. So you have no long-term hold in market. You've got a fully placed site. Annihilation to try and reopen things, but it's missed by Teague. Luckily, Jerwin is a little more adept here. And everyone is here from Trust and Plug. Everyone has made it to this party as Blue Water still have yet to breach main fully. But Zeke is inside, playing the shack, Brock in the door, but market exec is completely empty. It's entirely site occupied. Lane will be opened. Welly spotting Mikey. Jerwin still not caught. And there's another op shot that'll connect. Still Blue Water playing the distance, playing with time a little too heavy. 35 seconds to go, and Jerwin once again re-ups.
Here.
The fountain of youth
30 seconds left.
on this operator. Ahead, spotted by Monsi as well in the boat household, and now the crunch can really come together here for Trust and Plug. Blue Otter has to put their foot to the floor even more than they did before, and with the few resources they have left, it still might not be enough.
I have retrieved the spike.
Do you want to give Jerwin 4? Shondex says, not just yet, I want some more creds. Plants the spike down and lets this free swing come in, but the cam gives early intel, doesn't matter, can't land it. TIP up to 6.
These are such chaotic rounds that we're witnessing here. Once again, I like the idea that we saw from Blue Waters. You'll notice right off the bat, the barrier mesh gets tossed out into the spawn, trying to just honestly plug a lot of the holes. Make sure that Trust and Plug have a harder time trying to rotate into the back of the site, but it just was a little too slow. Bob took all of that space, but by the time Zeke went over there and threw that barrier mesh down, it was too late. All the members of Trust and Plug on that defense were already into the back of that B site. And Blue Waters thought it was going to be a lot easier than they were expecting, and they just run into every single member from Trust and Plug. And honestly, right now, Jerwin is putting on an op masterclass. The snipers looked so deadly in their hands. And Blue Waters are having a really tough time just trying to figure out how to get into any of these sites. We're seeing them go back to that similar playstyle, play a little bit slow, get that utility out of the way before you execute. But it does feel like this time there's a bit more pressure underneath them, as it does seem like they are favoring this A site. Paranoia ready to go.
Such a key strat to opening up an A site that is this occupied. Drone's gonna catch just one wire. The second one is so far in. And again, it works specifically against the tempo that Blue Water is going for, which is just so damn slow, dude.
It's like we're watching VCT EMEA right now.
Welly clearing the board, and Annihilation. Oh, what a disgusting cross.
Nice.
That's just impossible to counter on site. And so Blue Water will take an advantage over a site that Trust and Plug decided to stock up. For once, the tempo is indeed shifted. And that one burst has led us to a 4v3 now for Blue Water. Spike yet to get planted still. And a couple members a little bit chipped on both sides. Very much in question. Burst Ricochet thrown. Recon bolt to counteract, and Bob has the reaction to slay Jerwin. Teague now extension from the tree. It's not all together, but Teague is still good for one. But the grav net will stop Monty in his tracks, at least temporarily. Or pardon me, the sonic sensor. And that might be all she wrote. Monty grabbing that op and getting out of dodge.
Man, and on top of that too, just trying to stay alive right now. Oh, jeez. Spotted Welly just running across to the speed site to try and chase down that operator, but not going to be successful in finding this one. I gotta say, I really like the ultimate combination that we saw. Zeke, you know, just playing off the Hunter's Fury that Welly used. Welly spotting out so many members, that guarantees the Annihilation will be able to find something. And immediately just completely dismantles the defense that Trust and Plug had. You saw as soon as the Annihilation went through, the response was Bao tried to spray that cocoon open, and as a result, that just allowed the rest of Blue Waters to walk underneath and then get the spray down, making it so much more easy for Blue Waters to walk in. An excellent round coming in from them. I think it was just a lot of good information that they were able to get from the various utilities that Willie was using. The Recon Dart, the Owl Drone, even the Hunter's Fury marked members, which allowed the rest of the Blue Water squad to find easy kills through smokes.
Absolutely. By the time that those ults were used, Blue Water very well aware of the fact that Trust and Plug were on site rather than playing something as non-committal as Heaven. So they had no trouble going Matt hard in the paint with two so crucial ults. But that means, of course, that you can't do it again. And Neural Theft being all that Blue Water has left in the ult bank, that will be what they have to springboard off of. And that, I fear, requires either some mid-defaulting or a B-exec in order to fully perform. Purely so you can understand where you're occupying Boathouse, where you're occupying Backsite, where you're occupying Market.
Yeah.
A lot more uncertainty in those post-plant angles that Blue Water will have much more confidence in when you know where everyone's at.
But also to keep in mind on this round, a little bit of a very interesting buy from Trust and Plug. We see that carried over Operator, but the rest of the squad are extremely low HP. A little bit of a wombo combo of utility being set up here. Monty got that Recon Bolt ready to go. Paranoia just on the other side, and uh-oh, yeah, Teague finds that kill easy.
Such quick reaction time coming in with that Paranoia. Teague almost didn't even give Bao the assist. And now it will be Jerwin who is pressured. This is what they wanted all along, but Sean Deck's close peek shuts that op down and probably Plug's chances of holding on to this round to any degree. Barrier mesh will guarantee no tree entry, so everyone's coming up from on high to try to make this post plant work. Welly, oh, that's dastardly, my friend. And an owl drone to pile on top of it. They've already got just about all they need, and they can set up more cyclically for the remainder of the round. But no reason for Trust and Plug not to save, at least until now that they've gotten some guns among the two of them. Teague is already abandoning ship, it seems, with this operator in hand.
Oh.
Mikey's just gonna grab one, though. And it'll be a 6-5 game going into the end of this half. Once again, Blue Otter perked up, and a really solid attack strat coming through.
Yeah, and once again, I'm really impressed with Welly's utility on that one. Obviously, I do think that, that shock bolt, oh, of course, getting a kill, it's all really cool and all that type of stuff. But the whole point of that was to zone it out, because
it wasn't even to...
Yeah, like, it wasn't even to kill, it was just like, hey, I'm warning you, stay back for a second. And, well, Trust and Plug were like, oh, well, we saw one, we're probably not going to see another. And then immediately, boom, dead. So it was pretty much for free, but Shondex being able to find that first pick, drop the operator, then immediately just uses the ultimate, just like you said. It gets extremely good value, and then he's able to position so well, take over that A site, zone people out, like I said. On top of that, too, give the information available to the Blue Otters. An excellent job from them, as it looks like they really might be able to make this an even 6-6 half.
But with the least on the board yet, comparatively, as Trust and Plug now have the buyback and 2 ults on the board, as well as very close to 2 more. A lot more flexibility on the defensive side, which means you must be forcing TIP to play your game if you're Blue Otter this time around. Which means you gotta force him to default somehow.
Yeah.
But Bob is not fielding any sort of fight from Jerwin early here, which I get. Jerwin's been crazy so far. She really doesn't want to just like waste her life doing that. She would much rather use her blinds to just open up a room instead at this stage in the game. The only one really holding close is Mon Bao, but that's for paranoia, for chemistry, yeah. And other than that, Blue Otter just searching for something that will not come to them. And so Trust and Plug get to play the waiting game even harder. 40 seconds to go. Nothing certain, nothing cleared here for BO. But they have market, and they'll try and use it. In we go, trying to blast Mike early, but he gets away. Skin of his teeth.
Left.
2 on site. Very close to end of clock here, and nobody is making a dent on this site. We're on lane, but like, where else, dude? Bob's trying to hold down the market, but there's another dimensional drift in the game now. Jerwin can just hop right back onto the fight. Not even worry about her. Spike is still not down yet, and Sight is still taken over by even more members of Trust and Plug now, who will finish things up with 4 standing and grab their 7.
And quite frankly, it looked like Blue Otters, like you said, Tenruk, just looked confused on that last round. They didn't get any of the control that they really wanted. Were really forced to make that market push happen, even though that they felt discombobulated in going in, and it just felt like, well, what do we do now? I don't know, I guess we go market. And then they just walk into market, Trust and Plug ready for that one, and immediately you see all those ultimates start to trickle in for Trust and Plug, emptying the bank, understanding it's that last round. And just like that, Trust and Plug, 7-5 on the Blue Otters' map pick. Trust and Plug now on the attack. Let's see what they've got. I do think this composition favors the defense a little bit more. So I'm wondering whether or not the Otters will be able to turn it around. As Trust and Plug, the pings indicate that they will be going in onto this B site relatively quick. And wow, that could have been a lot more disastrous if many of those members were close by.
Well, you'll have one more shot. Don't count him out just yet. But trading shock darts before we go in. How many does that hit? Let's see.
0.
0, wow. Jerwin's in, and just gets right in front of Bob. Easy opener for Plug, who will now just play the space, see if anybody dares to enter backside before they take the real fight on site. And this is kind of what I wanted to see from Blue Otter, is like, you can tempo shift, but tempo shift is like a death ball a little more often, especially with a comp like this. That shock dart does not hit your trap wire. You are going to walk right into a trap wire and die to Shondex, almost die to Shondex. So Blue Otter still have a lot of site control. Still Boathouse, in fact, because Welly hasn't been cleared up yet. He'll grab another. But Zeke cannot finalize, so it'll be a 2v1 against Mikey here. Camera in hand. But Zoe's still behind him. So Blue Otter still make the comeback. And while this was Blue Otter's choice of map, defense was Plug's choice of sides. Arguably playing on a half that they might not feel as confident on.
Yeah,
let's find out, actually. How many times have we seen them play Ascent so far? Oh, we haven't. This core has not played Ascent yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gonna be a little interesting. And on top of that too, Shondex was another player. I mentioned Shondex earlier in that first half because I thought that the shots were looking really nice, but especially there too. Usually you expect to see the Killjoy, given the current state of Cypher, because this is the last patch. Cypher's still really good, especially when comboed with a lot of that deadlock utility. The sonic sensor is perfect because if you want to shoot out the trap, then you make a noise and then boom, you get stunned up anyways. And so I'm really impressed with how that defensive setup was onto that B site, especially on the pistol round. It's going to be that much more effective, as we do see that forward smoke again, as Blue Waters are taking a little bit more space, and Bob just walking here might walk into 2 in a second.
She's going to decide to hold this close, adjusts, but Luckily, Jerwin can't land much of anything either. Bob will end up just falling to about 100 clean. Which means we're still playing pretty similar Valorant here for Blue Water. They will give away this barrier mesh, but pretty late into the round, so Trust and Plug, they can't exactly, again, try to field any like premature response off of that. They're still trying to play this field just as Blue Water was before, seeing if they can find anything of note on this pistol follow-up. Really tough to against two Sentinels, though.
30 seconds.
Very unfortunate. It'll be a push after the mesh goes down. Sonic Sensor ready. Bobsta also ready. Jerwin's Lurk doesn't do a thing. Zoe's in on a main. That push is gone too. The rest of the team's in tree, and we can take care of that like a Swiss cheese, except Mikey, who's locked in until Bobsta scurries on back and can shut that down before Mike gets the spike down. Everybody don't panic. We're fine. Three's up. We're tied. We're good.
Yeah, three's the magic number to make sure that, yeah, we're still good in moving into this next one. We can bonus up, right, guys?
Fine,
yeah, it's great. But look at the economy on the other side. We're seeing a Guardian start to come in from Jerwin. And money's looking a little bit tight. Trust and Plug that time were really struggling to get any map control whatsoever. It felt like the only way that they were able to was, hey, let's throw down a smoke and slowly creep up. Okay, that smoke's expired. Let's throw down another smoke. They were really expecting Blue Water to be more proactive, and Blue Water just kind of dug their heels into the ground and said, no, we're playing defense. You kind of have to push into us. I like this angle that Zostal's moving up on, but Trust and Plug potentially going for a more middle to B side attack. Both Sentinels currently on that A site, though.
Yeah, the stack Blue Water is favoring is the one that Plug is trying to as well, but with such an early smoke and with such a late market peak, Welly gets another kill for free. So it'll be a 3v5, and Monsi can't get a shot in either. Blue Water saying, man, you thought what we were going through was tough? You thought we were embarrassed? Brother, you try it.
And just on the other side of that smoke, if they threw that grav net, that could have been dangerous.
I mean,
and now the information is given.
This is so tough to commit to, even if you're Trust and Plug. You really, I mean, honestly, in the back of their heads, they're thinking, do we save at this point? 35 seconds? A B site that's entirely uncleared, and we don't know how much Sentinel util's on it? Luckily, there is none, so if TIP decide to commit to this, then they could do wonderful things, but they're gonna leave. Because the Guardians are just spraying through the walls. Teague is on 20, Monty's on 10. Plug does not want to lose more, knowing that that's already what they're careening towards. So indeed, they will save. They will let this bonus go the way of Blue Otter and give away the lead.
And look at this, the Otters, they're swimming. They're looking for those guns. They want to move in there and potentially take them away. And yeah, unfortunately, with that barrier mesh, it's going to guarantee that Trust and Plug will be able to escape with it, but an excellent defense coming in from the Blue Waters. They simply just zoned Trust and Plug out, did enough chip damage, found a couple of picks, and Trust and Plug's confidence just completely got sucked out of their own bodies. Not able to move anywhere, too scared. The fear just too strong of a factor. They invested heavily into that round and got absolutely nothing. We didn't even really see an engagement happen on that round, Tedrick.
It's like I swear to God, half of these rounds that we're seeing on Ascent specifically this tournament are like casting like a TDM at half speed, because everyone is just defaulting, and like I respect it, because you can do anything off of a default on this map. But you can also do anything off of this map, and that's a double grab net. Teague searching desperately for the gap, and he'll only find one good for like 20 damage.
Zeke, just watching that. A little bit of information, but Bob, not quite done yet.
Zeke isn't either. Can just re-peek right back once the chamber is empty.
Okay.
Bob tries to fight with the pistol instead. Isn't even wasting time trying to reload that thing. I take 2 shots with this gun, and then I drop it on the ground.
Yeah, that one, honestly, a little difficult
Hey!
here. Excellent headshot from Teague, and honestly, one of the highlights that I saw on the Trust and Plug team was Teague just doing a really good job at just fragging out. Sure, we talk about like utility and getting people into traps and, you know, all of the smarts plays, but at the same time, I think that Teague has just been a very reliable fragger for this team, able to just kind of take those tools and usually come out on top with 1, if not 2 kills against the Otters. And so Teague still being alive means that there is a chance here.
Steps heard. Welly, no reason not to peek this, even just to slow him down. Because if you think about that, I mean, Teague still has to worry about Boathouse. There's still a sensor on the lane. Like, there is still so much in your way, even artificially, that, yeah, Welly's just going to look at that. He's not going to, like, drone out for safety in that scenario.
No.
So, no real answer from Trust and Plug on this attack so far. Genuinely, Blue Water just holding their sightlines and winning the duels that are taken on them. That is literally all they've had to do so far. We'll see if that continues as Trust and Plug have some ults on the board, including that Dimensional Drift from Jerwin. That is one of the easiest ways to open up a site with the attack.
Defense so ready for it. Zeke consistently playing this A site. It's made things so much more difficult. We talked about the GravNet and its usefulness in being able to find those kills, but honestly, it's kind of a mixed bag. If you don't find any kills with it, then you just introduce a slight inconvenience. And that's not something you don't want to do. You want to actually get some sort of usage off of that utility. And I do think that defensively, the GravNet has been utilized so much better.
Absolutely.
The offense still a little bit lacking.
And it's so funny because the offense is really where the GravNet's been blossoming as of late, as a tool to open up chokes and dry holds that so many of these egotistical tier 2 15-year-olds are going for. Not in this lobby. None of them are in this lobby or in this tournament, and I'm not talking about any player specifically, and I'm just joking, and it's just a joke. Oh, huge barrier mesh to field out. This is exactly how you deal with Jerwin's ult. You isolate, force him to TP back, and Trust and Plug, they'll respond the right way too. Just spray through, and they'll find one to try to keep this site alive. But everyone from literally everyone from Blue Water is here now. This is a TDM on a site that is 5 square feet big. So who's gonna win? The team on defense. Blue Water's up to double digits.
It really just felt like Trust and Plug weren't expecting anybody from Blue Water to be on that site. The way that they just kind of executed there, sure, the utility in the right spot, the smokes go down, yeah. You actually have to go in there and get a couple of kills too when you move in, but instead they just went into the default spots that they're like, okay, we're going through like a checklist item right now. Okay, we checked here, we checked here, we checked here. Must be fine, let's go in now. And as a result, the Otters just kind of spring out from the shadows and completely trample the rest of the team. Like you said, ending up into a TDM scenario where it looked like Trust and Plug were more interested in running away individually than trying to take that fight with the team. And as a result, the Otters just kind of come out on top. The Otters have been on a rampage. I don't think that they've dropped a single round on this defensive half.
Nope.
And right now, the timeout being called by Trust and Plug. They got to start to figure out something because this is very quickly slipping away from them.
And with the ult cycle in tow, every round is one that could be golden for them. This time it'll be the Annihilation that's the tool of choice. TIP will attempt to use to fill down an angle, but we've only really seen that be effective so far when it's used in tandem with another ultimate, and unfortunately, Neural Theft isn't exactly something you can, like, combo. It's just kind of a thing you use.
Yeah.
So to open up a site, they'll have to get an opening frag, just Neural Theft off of it, and then probably Annihilation like mid-plant, just for time and or space. But how are you gonna get this opening frag? That's the big question. Bobsta is just gonna give it to him with this paranoia swing. So braced, it's so stupid, but it's just gonna work. And that's 3 for Blue Water, who've completely overtaken the B lobby and the spike. Bonus, absolutely not. Ults, get that the hell out of here. Bobsta's good for 3, and Blue Water are good for 11.
That was an amazing round, and that's kind of what we want to see coming out from Blue Water. We know that this squad can frag out. We know that this squad can really just take the other team by storm, and they started out so slow, so patient, that you could tell Trust and Plug were just simply not expecting that push. An excellent combination of utility coming out. The GravNet based off of Bob's calls, and then immediately the paranoia just to secure those kills.
Right as they run back as well, it's the perfect lane to throw it down, because you know they're going to retreat back to T because they don't want to give you any information. That was such a perfect collapse.
And one of those, that just felt like one of those for her strats. But of course, Bob, not quite done yet. Finds the first with the operator. Trust and Plug slowed down just for a second, but Zul still finds Jerwin as well. It's already falling apart.
Oh, the GravNet also launched in! Now that Zeke's farmed it!
Oh.
And there's a deadlock ult on the field, and it's effective, but it's going the way of the team that is about to get their 7th straight defensive round here.
Oh,
We've
barrel
seen
spotted.
performances this dominant on this map, but nothing really like this. If it continues, and it will. Yet again, Blue Waters at the right place at the right time. Monsi, a world of time left, but it just feels like nothing.
Yeah, Monsi's just going to have to retreat out of that one. I do admit the Annihilation might have been a little bit too
Maybe a
rambunctious.
little much. The Gravnet was already down. Like, they were spraying. I mean, they weren't hitting the spray, but they were there.
Yeah, exactly. And like you could see at that point, Teague was just there like, whatever happens, happens. I don't know how I'm going to get out of
He
this one.
accepted his fate.
Pretty
fully.
much. And you know what? As a result of that, like, curious to see how this next round is going to go. Still, the ult cycling is looking pretty good for Blue Otters. They do have 2 ultimates online. The From the Shadows in addition to the Neural Theft. But on the other side, Teague does have the Annihilation and evened out ultimates as a result of that. But the weapon differential speaks volumes here. Even if Blue Waters lose this round, more than enough money to buy into the next one. And Trust and Plug, they not only have to win this round, they have to make sure that they carry a lot of their weapons forwards because it's just going to be even more expensive in the next.
A cavalcade of consequences that all pile up here, if nowhere else. Whoa, great find! Great chase down on that wall bang. And that's what Trust and Plug were looking for the past 9 rounds, right? Like, easy opening pick off of a smoke peek. Blue Water finally does it, so now we should be good, right? You have 3 ults on you. You can open up whatever site you want to.
And that's the thing too, though. The Neural Theft on the other side of the map, so can't even use that one. Given where the body was dropped, Bob evens out the numbers. Can't even rescue the rifle outside of A. Finally smoking it off, but that's a smoke gone just to grab a rifle. Mikey, though, finds a kill.
Steps out way too far, but so does Mikey. Just walking right into Welly's sightlines. No smoke necessary, I guess. Blue Water, Zostal has been staying here the whole dang time. But now we'll use that Deadlock ultimate. Gravnet to guarantee, and Zostal is no more. Welly quite low, gonna try and launch these recons on default plant, and it'll drag Monsi down to 35 HP. So this opener, again, can be a little early, which Blue Water is early. They're already here again. Shondex opener on full health to give Welly an easier spray on low health, and it's good for a 2-for-1, but Welly has to finalize, and Teague is still standing, so he can't do that. Trust in Plug will get 1 attack round on the board.
Yeah, it is an attack round on the board. You're correct. However, once again, the economy isn't exactly ideal. We're not seeing them being able to buy up all of the weaponry that they would want and all the full shields. We do see Trust and Plug try to go for more of the utility play, and I think that's the right move here. Blue Water, meanwhile, more than enough money to carry this one forward. 3 ultimates still available for them. If Welly finds 1 more orb, the Hunter's Fury is going to be available as well. And with how those Hunter Furies have gone, I imagine it's going to be looking good. Bob immediately just scouting out, but you can see Trust and Plug a little bit more cautious this time. It's okay. It's more of just a surprise play as Bob purely going for the intimidation factor.
Just getting in front of him. Leading that uncertainty, and also maybe try to sell the push onto A side to a degree so that there's more distance gained up B main and market. Sonic Sensor is taken care of here. That should alert Zeke and by proxy rest of the team to this push pretty early on. Doesn't matter. They're here, and Trusted Plug is far ahead of the curve this time around. They'll jump on, they'll get 2-for-1, and they will get on site pretty safely here, not play backline for too long, knowing that there's basically the rest of the team coming from there. They're right. Sonic Sensors will just get set up in response here, and Blue Water will have to play the long game on the retake.
Unfortunately, the paranoia gets used despite that information that all 3 were coming down there. So that's another tool that Trust and Plug will not have here. Bob has to get that first duel and finds just that winnable right now for Waters.
Still the deadlock. Util up. Shondex!
No way.
The perfect swing to take care of that and more. All that's left is Bow, and Blue Water have no trouble dealing with that. An unfortunately unpracticed attack half for Trust and Plug. Look, I don't blame them. We're all excited for Fracture and Lotus, but it will give Blue Water the opening map of this game and really put the pressure on Trust and Plug.
Absolutely. And once again, I'm really impressed with how the Blue Waters played that defense. I mean, the attack, it was a little less concrete, in my opinion. You could see that the attack was a little bit more stalled from the team. But when it came to the defense, making sure to push out in certain angles, going for the aggressive plays, swapping styles up, it just looked like Blue Waters were just so much more confident on their defense. And honestly, maybe that's the reason why that their opposing team decided to take that away from them and start on the defense instead. Really impressed with Shondex, as well as the utility coming in from Welly. I cannot take anything away from Welly on that round because that Sova was so instrumental to so many of those team fights that Blue Water found themselves in.
Well, we may be just turning the table right back around as we head to a map that is arguably quite figured out with a team that is quite arguably trying to springboard off of an early lead. It'll be Blue Water picking the attack half on Trust and Plug's pick of Sunset when we come back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.